Hello there, and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and this week I'm joined by a man who always looks great in a cape. His name is Mike Roth.
I was just thinking that yesterday. I was getting my hair cut, if you can't notice, and of course the cape goes on backwards. But I was thinking, man, this is a fantastic thing. I don't know why people don't wear capes more often. They are very comfortable. You think they're like pillows. So you could go to the theater, you could roll them up, put them behind your neck.
I think you should try bringing capes back, man.
I think so.
Make it a thing.
I could be that guy. I'll get a dual-colored one like Dracula.
Oh.
Everybody loves Dracula.
It's true.
Sexy vampires.
Very true.
I could be that guy.
You could.
All right.
Sparkly, it'd be great. Oh, I love it. All right, bringing capes back, starting this year. This week we have a few movies on the marquee, as well as a really fun throwback. And so we're just going to get started right away. The first movie I have on the marquee, Michael, is another movie that I saw at the Film Fest last week.
Oh, there we go.
A movie that is coming out later on this year. And it's called First Girl I Loved, from director Karim Sanga. And it is basically a teenage romance in high school with three parts, kind of a love triangle almost. You have Dylan Galula, who plays Anne, you see right there in the picture there. That's Anne. She is a high schooler who is very confused about her sexuality and expectations on her. You also have Mateo Arias, who plays Clifton, who's like her best friend, right? They're best friends. They go through life. And then the really popular girl in school, Sasha, shows up and shows a little interest in Anne, just notices her. Mm-hmm. And that's played by Brianna Hildebrand. You may know her as Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and so she plays Sasha, the popular, cute girl, and Anne starts to fall in love with her. Doesn't realize that she might be into girls. Mm-hmm. Very confused. And so the movie is a lot of teenagers dealing with their parents and expectations and troublesome hearts. And you have Clifton, who, is her best friend, but also secretly has a crush on her and kind of just always expects, she's mine. Yeah. We're not dating, but she's mine. And, so you have, he doesn't want to share her, and you have all of that goes into that, and the insecurity that sits in the hearts of teenage boys. And he starts lashing out. Anne and Sasha begin to have a little romantic tryst. Things go bad for all parties. Yeah. Parents get involved, school, faculty gets involved, and you really start to deal with a lot of really rough emotions. You have a lot of comics in this movie, stand-up comics, Cameron Esposito, Tim Heidecker, that throw in some nice levity into the situation. It's not all super serious, mm-hmm. but you deal with the rejection, because she does fall in love, and then there's a rejection and the shame, and it's hard to watch sometimes because it feels real. All these characters feel real. If you've ever gone through any of that horrible high school romance, your first love.
I'll tell you what, I kind of miss the teenage years because I knew everything back then. I really did. Yeah. Then later on, you find out, man, I'm really kind of a dumb guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the movie has a real palpable awkwardness to it, mm-hmm. as they're going through, and you have that false bravado that teenagers will have of like you say, I know it all, but then secretly super insecure. You have the whole thing of that young love where you're quick to fall in love, but you're also quick to hurt and quick to be hurt, and a lot of that, and not getting over your first love, and it was great in their character development and felt real. Clifton felt like these two felt like real people. You get to know them. I just wish that there was more character development with the rest of them. Like Sasha, you started to understand where she was going, and then they kind of let her character twist for a while. And there's a lot of tertiary characters that came in and they were comic relief, but you didn't, like the parents were just kind of parents. I really enjoyed it, though. I really enjoyed First Girl I Loved. I'm really interested to see where this Dylan Galula, I've never seen her before in anything. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested because she was really good.
Do you think this is going to get a major release?
Yeah, probably not. This is more of an art film, I think. You know, I don't think it's going to be huge into theaters because the cast is kind of small. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a really good teen movie. It really reminded me a lot of the one from last year.
Oh, yeah.
Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Uh-huh.
In the way that you're dealing with teenage hearts and the awkwardness and the emotions that go along with that.
But that movie, I mean, it took a while, but eventually it got a major release. It wasn't huge, but it did get into all the major theaters. Yeah. It just didn't last long, and it was much after you already reviewed it.
And this one, I mean, this one also, you're dealing with expectations and being accepted because you are dealing with the coming out of the closet as a teenager and people that don't understand, parents that don't understand, friends that don't understand, and rejection of trying to decide of should I be who I am or should I be who they think I am? You know, it was very well done though. So I would recommend if you happen to stumble across First Girl I Love when it comes out. I think it's coming out in a couple of months. It's worth a watch. I would definitely recommend it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. What have you got for us? Another little art film?
I have something that's deservedly in every theater right now.
Uh-huh.
It is the only major release that happened this last weekend.
Yeah.
We have The Huntsman, The Winters War. This is a prequel to Snow White and the Huntsman with Chris Hemsworth and Kristen Stewart.
Right.
Everybody's been asking for this movie. They couldn't make up their mind. Did we want something afterwards or something before? So they gave us a treat, and they gave us both. What we have here is Chris Hemsworth. He plays Eric, or we know him as the Huntsman. He falls in love with another fellow huntsman up in the castle of Queen Freya. Freya. She is someone who lost her child long ago, and she wants a land that has no love.
Love has been banished.
Or vegetation. I don't know how
she
they
turns
survive.
She turns into Elsa from Frozen.
Frozen, yeah.
Right.
So she's really sad, and she needs huntsmen, and we have these new warriors. Unfortunately, like I said, the big rule is no love, and when Chris Hemsworth falls in love, well, that kind of ruins everything. So these two lovebirds, they get separated, and it kind of brings us into another movie, which is after the movie that we already saw.
Right. Fast forward. So we lose Kristen Stewart. Right.
They mention Snow White quite often.
She's the queen of a kingdom, but we're not going to show
her. Some people rumored that it was because of her tryst that happened that really kind of gave them a black eye, but they say, no, it really doesn't matter. Either way, it's odd that they kept on mentioning that there's Snow White and they never showed a Snow White. And they pretty much kind of meet again together. They're hunting down the huntsman because of what happened in the last movie.
Well, you have that, but the huntsman and Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain, his wife, are going after the mirror, the magic mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, the mirror that causes all the problems. That's what they're going after. Meanwhile, they're being hunted by Freya's army.
Yeah.
For not dying. For being in love?
Something. It was kind of, for being in love, and also at the same time, they're still hated by the person that,
Well, because we also have, so Emily Blunt plays Queen Freya.
Yeah.
She is the sister of Ravenna, Charlize Theron's character from the first movie. She comes back to life.
Yeah.
And through the mirror, through the magic of the mirror, and starts distorting Freya and manipulating her because she hates happiness too.
Yeah.
And she manipulates things.
And Freya, she goes from one extreme of no life, no love, to all of a sudden being the person that is battling her evil sister, which I thought was kind of a odd thing.
There was a lot of odd things in this movie.
I would say this movie is flawed, really flawed.
Sure.
It has some really good points. I'm going to just talk about the good points right now because we could go on for a while about the flaws.
Please do.
I think aesthetically, this movie looked really nice. If you come down to costume design, I know we don't throw out costume design as being something fantastic in a movie, but in this movie, it was particularly awesome to look at how some of these dresses were made and how they moved when they're walking. These things, they look like they should be rigid without any flow because they're all metal and stuff like that, but as they move, it's almost hypnotic how this stuff is working as a wardrobe. Also, the sets I thought was very beautiful. I don't think the director cared about this movie at all to make sure that it worked for this. There was one point where this Freya's throne room is lined with all these really cool-looking crystalline structures, and an extra is walking down the stairs, and he accidentally bumps into one of these things, and it just madly wiggles like it's made out of silicone rubber. It's like, well, as a director, you should have saw this. You should have cut that out,
or you can fix that.
Or fix it. Just say, hey, wait a minute. Let's do it
Mark
again.
that.
Either way, there's also another scene where Chris Hemsworth, I'm just going to call him the Huntsman. The Huntsman, he makes this miraculous fall that should kill anybody, but he's the Huntsman, so, it's not going to happen. And he's climbing up the side of this roof. And you could tell that the artist who made this roof, who drew this roof, really put some effort into this. It's very, Norse-looking, but it moved like a Glad Rubbermaid trash can lid.
Yeah.
And he's banging on it and climbing up it. It's like, come on, guys. So the only thing going for your movie is how beautiful these sets look and the design look, and everybody just kind of gave up.
What I think is really, I thought there were some interesting things in the story because, like we say, Freya, after the tragedy strikes her in the prequel portion of it, and she becomes Elsa, queen of no love love is forbidden in my kingdom.
Yeah.
And so they import kids from other kingdoms. They basically, I'm assuming they don't tell you, but they're just stealing kids from elsewhere and bring them in because with no love, how do you keep the kingdom building? How do you keep the armies built? You have to steal kids and then form your army out of them and then as they grow up. I thought that was kind of interesting. Weird choices. So, like, she has this owl mask that she puts on, and she has mechanical owls that will fly around and act as her spies. And she puts this owl mask on, and then she can see through their eyes.
I think that was.
I think it's an interesting concept, but I think it kind of came off really hokey.
Yeah. I liked the design of it, and you could tell that it was the artist who drew all this stuff really was trying to drive this movie. That owl looked pretty cool. It was like a jade, but a white jade. I mean, I was looking at it, I was like, that's a really cool idea. It didn't really fit very well, but it looked really cool.
And there's a couple of things with this franchise for me is going back to the first movie, I echoed a lot of things that we're talking about right now that I enjoyed certain parts about that first movie. Aesthetically, I thought it looked really good. There were some interesting things that they did with the story, but ultimately it tried way too hard to be Lord of the Rings. In its shots, it was ripping shots off of Lord of the Rings as they were traveling and doing things, especially with the dwarves behind you. I mean, it tried really way too hard for that, and there was some really unexpectedly bad CGI in that first one.
Yeah.
This one is no different. This one, it feels like it tries to do more than it's capable of, and there are some rough CGI elements in this movie. That being said, you have an amazing cast. Jessica Chastain, Charlize Theron, Emily Blunt, and then the lead guy, Chris Hemsworth. Okay. I like the first
Nick Frost
three.
in there.
Nick Frost is great. He's a great addition to it. And it felt like, to me, a large portion of the cast was in there just because they had to be there. Charlize Theron was really bad in this movie. And I liked her in the first one. She was over the top. This one, her over the topness did not fit in. I love Emily Blunt. And I thought she had some great moments, but then a lot of it was just like, I'm just going to be monotone and doing nothing with it.
Oh, well, the writing was also particularly bad. There was a scene where the huntsman is being hunted, and he's in this bar, and this gang, this small army of huntsmen come in, and they're like, who are you? And he's like, I'm the huntsman. And he's like, we're the huntsmen. So they have this huge fight, and eventually when any gang beats up on one person, that one person just kind of subdues to the violence. And they say, you call yourself a huntsman? It's like, well, you just beat up. But like 4 of your huntsmen. He did really well.
And in that scene, though, I think there's a great shot, though, as his rescuer comes running in, as Sarah comes out of the mist and starts throwing ninja skills down on the fellow huntsman. So this movie is so like up and down for me. Is it hokey storytelling? Yes. Is everything in this movie telegraphed way ahead of time? You know it's coming? Obviously. There's something about this movie that I kind of enjoy. A lot of it, I think, falls on Jessica Chastain. I thought she was the one in this that was trying to do something with her character, despite the script and despite what she had coming at her from the other side. I thought she was trying to do something with it. I enjoy watching her. Maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for her. I think she's an amazing actress. But she was the most enjoyable part of the movie to me. Her and Nick Frost were actually the most enjoyable parts.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, definitely not. He mumbled. He felt like he was doing whippets most of the time.
I think this proves Chris Hemsworth cannot hold a movie on his own. He has failed time and time and time again.
Well, he definitely can't do any accent but his own. And they should make him stop doing accents. Just say, you know what, this is where you're from. Why don't we just go with this accent?
Take your shirt off, Chris. That's what everyone wants.
And that's what they do. So if you're going to see this movie because you love him see his shirt off, that is in there.
This is the one. Ultimately, I had such a hard time with this one. I gave it 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
There was some fun. There was some hokiness. There was some bad. But you know what? It wasn't bad. It was just, meh.
I loved how it looked. I really did. I think just looking at this film was a high bar, but acting, writing, storytelling,
those components of the movie,
directing, all that other stuff brought this movie back, and it ended up with a very mediocre 2.5 for me.
Yeah, can't argue with it. All right, moving on. The next movie we have on the marquee is the newest movie from Tom Hanks. The movie is called Hologram For a King, from director Tom Tykwer. Tom Hanks stars as a man named Alan, who is a salesman, been around the block for a long time, and he works for an IT company who is trying to pitch this new technology for teleconferencing to the King of Saudi Arabia. They have this hologram technology where it looks like the person is standing in the room with you. That'll be your new technology. It opens with this amazing opening you see right here in the trailer if you're watching, of him pitching things and reciting the lyrics to the Talking Heads, Same As It Ever Was. And it's just this funny, amazing opening. Really inspired. But it's basically, he gets sent to Saudi Arabia, and everything is screwed up from the word go. Everything's screwed up. They can't get a meeting with the king. His team is having problems with everything. There's the cultural shift, the cultural clash. He doesn't know what to do, where to go in Saudi Arabia. But as Tom Hanks can do, he puts the smile on his face and tries to make it work. He's the lead on this project, and he has been having a lot of troubles in his life with work, with his family. He's recently divorced. His daughter has problems. He's got health problems. There's a lot of things riding on this. This has come through. And so he puts this fake smile on, and let's make it work the best we can for his team. He gets hooked up with this driver who drives around named Yusuf. And Yusuf is a great character. He's this guy who's involved in this weird love triangle that he keeps kind of mentioning. He keeps having to check his car because he thinks that the guy whose girlfriend he's also seeing is going to set a car bomb in his car. So every time he picks Tom Hanks up, he's like, all right, fingers crossed, we don't blow up. And he's a lot of fun. And Tom Hanks, his character is just is really great. He's literally lost in the desert. I mean, he's out there. Everything's going wrong. He's lost where he's at this crossroads in life where he doesn't know where he wants to go. His motivation is gone. He's looking for direction, and he's just out here, and he's stuck. And only Tom Hanks could pull this off because there's this. It's almost like Castaway, in that he has to do a lot of heavy lifting in this. Of this guy dealing with all these. This stress and anxiety starts to overwhelm him. This doctor, played by Sarah Chowdhury, this Dr. Zara, is introduced to try and help him. They start to form this little romantic link. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of Tom Hanks' charm coming through to kind of pull the story along, because it does kind of lag a little bit in the middle. And the one thing I like about it the most is, unlike a lot, we've had a lot of movies kind of set in the Middle East recently in the past year.
Oh, yeah.
We've had several of them. This one, it focuses on the difference between our cultures. It doesn't act like they don't exist. But it uses those differences between our cultures to kind of accentuate how similar we are. We're just people. Like, yeah, this is crazy, and isn't that wild? And I don't understand this any part of your culture, but you know what? We're still just people, and love and pain and all these things are still the same for all of us. We just have to find that common ground. And I thought that message was really interesting in this movie. And so there was some weird choices in this movie. Like there was a running joke throughout that played out like 5 different times, where every time he sat in a chair, he would break.
Oh.
And it just seemed like a really weird choice, especially in a movie that is kind of more serious in tone, just kind of a character study almost. And every time he sat in a chair, it would break. And he'd be like, "Oh, come on!" And like after the 3rd time, I'm like, "Are we still doing this? Is this a slapstick comedy now, where chairs are falling?"
Well, the beginning makes it look like it would be a really fun movie, and then it kind of
that's a dream. That's the dream of the life that he wants, to be that happy. But it's really interesting. There's a lot in here that I like, and dealing with the pressures of being an adult and problems in your life and things that keep you up at night weigh heavy on you is a big part of this movie. And so that part I appreciated. I just wish there was more. I just wish there was more going on with him, a little more that it's all centered on him, and they introduced some characters, and I kind of wanted to see more out of them. So I gave it 3 stars. I don't know who else could pull this off, though. That Tom Hanks' charm is worth $1 million.
I'm actually really surprised this isn't out in the major theaters.
I am as well.
I mean, Tom Hanks.
It's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
He doesn't make bad movies.
No, he spits, and people want to give him an award.
He goes to the bathroom in almost every movie. No, this is another one. Yeah, but I dug it. It's worth checking out. 3 stars for me. Our throwback, though.
Yeah.
We have a movie. Look, the last movie we just reviewed had a girl, a woodsman, a couple of bumbling friends going off trying to chase down an evil queen.
Warring witches.
Yeah.
That happens.
What is our throwback this week?
It's the entire Wizard of Oz series. Now,
yes.
it's based on the book by L. Frank Baum.
Yep.
He wrote these things
100 years ago.
Over 100 years ago.
Yep.
And people keep on trying to make these books. Back then, it was like Harry Potter. Once he came out, every kid got one of these things for Christmas. Then people started making movies. And really, Disney tried it in the 30s. A couple other people tried it in the 30s. It just didn't have the impact until 1939, where a movie that really should have failed had a couple of different directors. It had actors who were almost killed. Lots of problems with this movie. It ended up being one of America's favorite movies of all time,
gosh.
Wizard of Oz, starring Judy Garland, which I shouldn't have to tell you the names of the actors the actors. Everybody knows this movie. It became kind of an American...
it was a staple on television once a year.
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz is going to be shown on Sunday night. We're watching it.
Yeah.
Everybody sits down and watches it on CBS or whatever it was on.
And it's crazy that they've done this movie many times. Disney tried picking up the ball again in the 50s with a television show that failed miserably. But we've had The Wiz, we've had Muppets and stuff like that. I think the only true sequel came almost 50 years afterwards in 1985 for Return of Oz. And then recently we had the Great and Powerful Oz.
The Great and Powerful.
But so what did you think of them?
So Wizard of Oz is probably the second most watched movie in my lifetime. Behind Star Wars, I've seen Wizard of Oz probably the second most of any movie.
Well, the whole thing with it being on television every year.
That is a huge part of it, because it was a thing that you would be excited for.
And it's actually a generational thing. And I hate saying stuff like that, but really, back when we were kids, you looked forward to stuff like this once a year, or when your favorite movie that you couldn't see on the theater finally was edited enough where you could watch RoboCop or whatever over and over, which I did. So things like this really had a huge impact. I don't know if they do nowadays as much.
Everything's so much more diluted now, but Wizard of Oz is just an incredible movie that tried to break so many new grounds on so many different artistic and technical levels. What they attempted, a lot of it shouldn't have worked, and some of it didn't.
Yeah.
But what they attempted in the late 1930s is incredible. And the effects that they were able to pull off, and the cast, the size of this cast, and the costumes, and the prosthetics, and everything that they had to do to make this world feel real is just, it boggles my mind every time I watch it.
And I want to talk about that a little bit. People don't know. They see this movie and they take it for granted on all these people wearing this makeup and stuff. The Tin Man originally was played by Buddy Epson.
Jed Clampett.
Clampett. He was actually the actor for the Tin Man for quite a while, but he was put in an oxygen tank or oxygen tent for 2 months because of the damage his makeup did to his lung, which was all
Your
just
skin has to
powdered
be able to
aluminum.
breathe, and you can't have powdered aluminum in your lungs.
No, you can't. It's very bad for you. And Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch, her skin was all green. Everybody, it's no big deal. People have green makeup for Halloween all the time, but back then it was made out of copper.
Yeah.
And during a time where
good.
there's some flames, she actually caught on fire and suffered from some severe burns. It's crazy.
And Margaret Hamilton is incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
She makes this movie. The cast is great. Ray Bolger's great. And Burt Lauer's great as the Cowardly Lion. And Judy Garland is amazing. And her singing is just iconic, right? Some of the most iconic songs ever. But Margaret Hamilton as the Wicked Witch of the West is the star of this movie to me because she is ferocious. She is fearsome as the witch, and she is what every witch is based on. I mean, she is incredible.
She was the pointy-haired, but wart on the nose.
I can't get enough of watching her. She's so much fun. And every time you get the two of them on the set, you get Judy Garland and Margaret Hamilton, you get the witch and you get Dorothy playing against each other. I can't get enough.
I liked how they used Frank Morgan. He was like 5 different characters. So literally, you would see him at the door, and he's the doorman, and then 2 seconds later, he's a carriage driver now. And he's also...
It's how you stretch your set and you stretch your budget. But
I guess they really had to pour in a lot of extras. I think there were well over 100.
I mean, just for the munchkins and all that.
Yeah.
I mean... There's so few movies that I respect when I watch more than Wizard of Oz. I can't help but watch it and just look at the technical aspect of it and just be amazed at the artistry of this movie. And they just don't make movies like it's hard. I hate saying things like that. It's so cliche, but they don't make movies like this anymore.
I'm probably one of the few people that think both the prequel that came out just a couple of years ago and the sequel that came out in '85 were actually really good movies. And '85, I understand, it was creepy, it was dark, it was scary for kids. It's still creepy. I really enjoyed that universe. I still like the wonder and the amazing creativity in Dorothy's adventures, getting new friends and battling evil. And the prequel didn't have as much wonder, but still...
I like the story. There's some rough parts in this movie.
They took a really safe road, but not as much wonder. But the colors and the attempt to try and amaze people was still there. I think they were trying to do it with 3D, and since most Americans hate 3D...
It holds a little special place in my heart, Oz the Great and Powerful, because it was the first movie I took my daughter to.
Oh.
When she was 6 days old, I took her to go see Oz the Great and Powerful, put the 3D glasses on her, let's go. 6 days.
Perfect. Wasn't she?
She loved it. Sat right through it. Better than most adults, you savages. But The Wizard of Oz, I mean, come on, go watch it.
Yeah.
Even if you've seen it like I have 75 times, watch it 76 times because it's great.
If you're someone who just hates the moving pictures, don't have TV or watch movies, but love radio and listening to us right now, read the books. Really, the making of Wizard of Oz and the entire universe is really interesting.
Yeah, really great stuff. So that is our throwback. Let's take a look ahead real quickly to the weekend of May 6th. We have one movie coming out that weekend, and we're only going to say the title because it's Captain America Civil War. Coming out that weekend. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm hoping it's good.
Are you going to be team captain?
I'm all team captain all the way. Definitely. But so that is what we have. If you want to find more from us, you can do so by following us on Facebook and Twitter, Real Reviews TV. We want to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, the Palace here in Sudbury. Thank you for sponsoring the show. We do enjoy your theater. Anything else? Next week, we're going to be talking about a whole host of different movies I'm really looking forward to. We've got all kinds of stuff.
Oh, since our last show, I have been saying hello to people.
Oh,
there you go.
Goodness. I'm expecting to see that cape on you a little more often now after today's pledge.
It's going to happen.
I can't wait. All right. Well, until next week, though, my name is Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.